Welcome back to Alliance Tournament 16. I'm Black Bart Pirate, and I'm joined by Elise Randolph to talk about the match of Templis CALSF, the Hydra Slayers, going up against No Vacancies. Templis CALSF has brought a 3-battleship Fleet Typhoon Navy Scorpion Praxis core with a Shield Logistics in the Basilisk, a Stork Bifrost, 4 bombers. Elise, what has No Vacancies brought?
So No Vacancies are bringing a kind of a scary comp if you're not expecting it. It's basically all battlecruiser rush. It's got a Fleet Hurricane, Fleet Harbinger, Navy Brutix, a Standard Hurricane, a Proteus, a strategic cruiser, a Brutix, a Gnosis for links, and a Molish just for occasional damps. They are undermanned, but they do have quite a bit of damage. Templis, we're going to have to keep an eye on this Basilisk. I believe they're going to try and tinker with it a little bit. So essentially the battleships are going to try and feed cap into the Basilisk, making it very, very hard to kill. It's going to be able to run its rep constantly. The weakness of that is essentially an all-in DPS setup, which No Vacancies seems to be attempting here. So we'll see if they can kind of get that early blood and if it'll snowball from there. But unfortunately, No Vacancies, they do have to charge in about 50 kilometers. Or rather 30 kilometers. And we see bombs from the Templis side right now. Bombs are going directly into the No Vacancies teams. They're going to take a lot of damage. There's just micro-warp driving straight into them. There's more bombs too.
And most
my
bombs
god,
hit.
look at that. The Mollis just goes down to bomb volleys. Everything is cut into half armor. This Hurricane's melting. Templis is just shredding these guys.
Yeah, it looks the DPS of Templis just on top of those bombs. They're already taken down a Hurricane. They already have another, like every other ship's already at half HP, and it looks like even though No Vacancies, had a ton of damage, they're all short range fit. So until they get directly on top of them, they're not even going to be able to apply. Fleet Hurricane is going down for No Vacancies, and I believe that No Vacancies is actually trying to take down bombers right now, as opposed to going for the Basilisk like you suggested.
Yeah, this is really going to be hard. You can see the cap transfers running into this Basilisk, making it able to run its reps basically forever. There's also swarms of rep bots from the Templis side that this No Vacancies team will also have to whittle through. But there's just no way. They don't have enough sustain to do this. They're already 4 battle cruisers down, or 4 ships down. They've just got a Navy Harbor, Navy Brutix, and a Proteus. They're not even going to take anything past 95% shields, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be the shortest match of the day, at least. They're losing their Brutix right now, and now they're only going to have 2 ships left against the full Templis CALSF team, and we're only a minute and 30 in.
Yeah, this Templis team looks really, really impressive right now. I really like the setup, and their captain, the last Spartan, is actually someone that I'd probably put in the top 3 in ATXVI Alliance Tournament captains. He's incredibly skilled, gets the most out of his team, and one of the best drafters in this current Alliance Tournament. So if you're sleeping on Templis, you shouldn't. I think they're going to go probably to all the way through. Maybe not to the finals, but they'll get very close. And that's saying a lot because they have PL in their next match, assuming this holds, which I think it's safe to say Templis are probably going to win this one.
Yeah, I think they've pretty much won, and I mean, it just shows how good Templis is. Like, they came up against what is considered to be the counter team comp, and they just were completely prepared. They landed a perfect bomb wave. They've completely taken it apart, and they lost nothing. Like, I don't think there was anything that was even close to dying from 9 DPS ships.
Yeah, and shout out to A-Dog and the Stork for providing links for his team and kind of surviving under the pressure. I really like this Templis Tinker setup. It's a bit of a pseudo Tinker. It's not quite the same Tinker we've seen in previous years, but it's very, very strong, and they take that convincingly. This is the most convincing match I've ever seen this entire year. So props to Templis. For Black Bart Pirate, I'm Elise Randolph. We're going to send it back to Ithaca Hawk in the studio.
Doing the same things they did last time. They're just charging straight in towards the enemy. They have no fear.
Hi guys, that was a quick one there with Novak falling foul to an excellently executed bombing run there by the Templis team. That was something we've not seen yet in the tournament, and I hope we see many more of those, because that was just absolutely perfection the way they did it. I mean, they brought this Tinker. It looked like a high DPS rush comp might be the thing to beat it, and then nope, just bombed them right off. Jin Tan, bombing runs in the AT. Tell me a little bit about them and like why haven't we seen that as much as we have?
We haven't seen them in a while, and that's because primarily what we used to see bombers used for is actually against Tinkers. We used to see like a small wave of bombers being used to upset the start of a Tinker, because obviously that has a huge amount of volley, you do damage to all the ships in the composition, and then you can run in there and start picking stuff off because the Tengu or Loki can't react fast enough and start repping up all of that damage. Whereas here, we're seeing this, ironically, we're seeing bombers used to protect a Tinker comp from rushes. You saw the way that those bombers were used. They brought the bombers in behind the Tinker, because or they moved the bombers in behind the Tinker, because they knew that that's where they were going to be running towards. They dropped the bombs, and they just walked into them and died. Like, if you're not respecting the zone that those bombers put out, and you're just MWDing straight towards something, you are going to get punished like that. And Templis there bringing an incredibly interesting counter comp, honestly. It does everything well to defend against the one specific counter of Tinkers, but I think you'd actually see that comp fare like a lot worse against a traditional team.
Yeah, I mean, because the bomber meta actually was really big in past tournaments, and then once the battle cruiser era came upon us, the bomber era just kind of fizzled out because of the tracking of the turrets and just being able to instantly volley those ships off the field. So it's interesting to see it back, especially versus an all-in team like this, where if they could lock the bombers quick enough, they might be able to pop them before the bombs detonate, because if the bomber does pop first, then the bomb does no damage. So and this is probably one of those things that comes down to experience, where they were trying to go for a different ship. Maybe they're trying to all in the what they surmise is the logistics, and where they didn't go for those frigs right off the bat. But it comes down to FC skill, I think, in giving the orders, because with MWDs on, trying to get close to ply damage, they're going to bloom their SIG, and they're going to take full damage from those bombs.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. They had to just rush in and get right on top to apply as much damage as possible. Because it's, ironically, as you say, Jen, like one of the main counters to a Tinker is just to burst damage down. Like you just plow straight through the reps that either the Basilisk in this case can rep itself or rep his friends. And then as soon as you start losing battleships, then you lose the cap feed into that Basilisk itself, and everything just starts to fall apart. You sometimes find Tinkers last for like 9 minutes with nothing happening, and then something breaks somewhere. Like maybe someone burns out something, and then bang, the whole thing is dead. But in this case, yeah, just perfectly executed defense there with those bombers. One of the interesting things is it was 4 bombers, I believe. So that's all 4 of those slots being filled, which is, well done, Templis. That was I think one of the, not one of the more interesting matches, but one of the more interesting results. I definitely think so.
I don't think one of the more interesting results. We all came into this like we 3-0 predicted Templis to win. But definitely we didn't expect it to end in that way. We weren't going into here expecting a bomber comp from anyone. Yeah, I don't think any... Yeah, we all thought that a bomber comp was going to be impossible. You normally wanted to stack the same types of damage bombs. You wanted to hit either the Hounds to hit the explosive, or EM to hit the...
Because otherwise the bombs cancel themselves out. And I mean, the big thing also is bomber DPS with their torpedoes is actually quite high. So,
delicious, yeah.
So I mean, Tinker setups are typically lower in the DPS because of the Tinker. So bringing those bombers, and if you're able to keep them alive, that is a lot of DPS to make up what you're lacking from the battleship core.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do actually have a replay of that bombing run that we can now show you thanks to some of our cool tools. So we can look at it up here on the screen now.
We're fancy.
Yeah, we are super fancy. So here we go. So you can see here the Novak guys in blue rushing in to try and get on top of that Templis Tinker. And they're all micro warp driving in, the speed is up, and if you watch when the bombs hit, all of them just get chunked right down so fast. There you go, look at that. Oh. Wipes out immediately that Mollusk. The Hurricane goes just seconds later, and I mean, at that point, in 25 seconds, the game is pretty much decided. Novak, if that bombing run hadn't happened, then maybe they would have had a chance to break that Tinker, but with losing all of those ships that quickly, there is no way they were going to be able to break it. Now, another interesting stat from that particular match is that Templis maxed out their applied DPS at 5,150. Okay. Novak, due to the fact that they all basically died, managed to only max it out at 265 DPS applied. Yeah.
So they fired one volley?
They got like 1 or 2 ships got on something not very well, and then that was it. They just couldn't. They had nothing left, and they all died. So
it shows you kind of one of the weaknesses of that 8BC comp in general, or at least all-in comps, because that's really what the comp we saw there was from Novak. It was a high DPS, get in your face and just try and trade you out. This is what we saw some Samurai Sold Out use in past matches, and also Volta use. It's definitely a tactic that works, but it doesn't work very well against Tinkers, because they obviously have the main advantage of having ridiculous tank. But their their downside is you don't have very much DPS.
Well, it differs from Volta, because you saw Volta, they brought the 3 heavy assault cruisers, and they had the battle cruiser core, and then they also actually had the Thalia, so they did have some Logi on the field, which the Thalia, even by itself, low sig, hard to track, will give a little bit of rep, and with the assault damage control on those hacks, that makes them more survivable. So there's definitely some key differences from the all-in to what the Volta Octodad setup brought.
Yeah, and obviously those hacks are going to be a lot better at killing bombers than even BCs, which are in the first place pretty good at that.
Right. One of the things that you see a lot of the sort of the higher tier teams, as we say, do is when they bring a comp that is perhaps vulnerable to bombing runs like that, a lot of them tend to have Tech 3 destroyers fit with the defender missiles on them, and if bombs go out, then they fire. But Templis there brought 4 bombers, and most teams aren't going to bring 4 command destroyers simply because you either have to bring 2 armor, 2 shield, and at that point that's just a bit of a mess. So that comp with the 4 bombers, even if Novak had 2 defender missiles with them, they would have still took a huge chunk of damage. Maybe they wouldn't have lost something straight away, but that damage is very hard to recover from once it's applied.
I think it's likely that we'll see the Sunesis start picking up in use rate if this bomber meta continues, because obviously it's 1 point and it lets you bring a free defender missile. It's so much better than an Ibis in that sense.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So let's look forward to the next match, which we'll get to in about 4 minutes' time now. This is a match that I'm actually looking forward to. I am looking forward to it because it's Goonswarm Federation versus Lumpy. So this is another one of these political wars, so political matches that we were talking about earlier on. And I believe I'm hearing in my ear that Mittens will be showing up.
Mittens will be showing up?
Yeah.
Actually fly in the Alliance Tournament?
That's what I'm hearing in my ear. If that is the case, oh, they're telling me that is correct. I heard it twice. The first time I heard it, I was like, no way, that can't be true. But yep, it's true. He will be flying.
Wow.
I hope he's done a lot of practicing.
This is gonna either be clipped on Twitch or it's gonna be clipped on Twitch.
Yeah. So I mean, when was the last time the Mittani actually logged into Tranquility? Does anyone know that stat?
He logs in for big timers. So anytime there's a lot of herfing, a lot of blurfing, anything massive, you'll see Mittani come on. He'll get in the main fleet and interact. But actually having to pilot your own ship in the AT is a huge difference. As most people know, or probably know, I was in Goons. I was the main FC in Goons for 8 or 9 years. So I mean, Mittens rarely does this type of thing. So it's going to be really interesting, and he must have done a lot of practice.
We hope so. So we're going to go to the match pretty soon. So let's have a quick round the horn and see who's going to win here. I think Goons have always been unlucky in the tournament. I'm going to back the Goons in this one. Despite the fact that Lumpy Bros are in the kind of coalition that I'm in at the moment, I'm actually going to back the Goons. What about you, Laz?
I can't not back my boys, so definitely going with the Goons. And Asher does have some pretty creative theory crafting, so we'll see.
I suppose that leaves me with the contrarian opinion. I'm going to go for Lumpy. I think the Germans can pull this one out and keep Goonswarm down.
Cool. All right, well, let's go find out and see how Mittens does.